We're back with another episode of the Guerrilla Gardening Show. I'm your host, Mike Freeman, back again with our co-host, Sam Igo. What's happening, Sam?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? What's going on, Mike?
Not too much. I wanted to look at older video of yours that was very inspiring to me. I've watched it several times. It's also very knowledgeable. And I think it's a cool video for people to watch because of the commentary and the explaining you do in the video. And so I'm going to mute you in the video. I'll put the link to the actual video down below so people can go and watch the video. But I think it'll be helpful to go back to this video now and kind of take a look at it several months later, and you can share some of your insights.
Yeah,
So,
and I know the video you're talking about. Um, it was from it had to be a year ago at this point. I think it may have been like late last summer, but it was in Brooksville, Florida, and it was
yeah, this says
definitely
11 months ago.
11 months, and definitely one of the larger projects that I've worked on. I will say this project specifically, I was hired on as a consultant by my friend Cameron from Food Force Everywhere and also the Grow Food Company. This was his project, and it's a essentially a half acre food forest that it's gonna be,
Okay.
but it's started as just old pasture land, and his clients want to convert it into a half acre syntropic food forest, and it's a daunting task. And so I came out there to lend them some advice and some manual labor as well.
So Sam, let me ask real quick. Obviously, we have our border plants going in. I'm sure they serve a specific purpose. But a
Or
question I do have, because like myself, my plan is to get a large piece of property and start something maybe similar. This dirt, this area, where we can see tracks on it, obviously that's been spread out. What's underneath that?
underneath, um,
Is this just buried grass?
yeah, I mean, essentially, we tilled the heck out of it.
Okay.
And, you know, on a scale like this, you can't really remove the grass. And so, really, it's about what we put on the soil. We cover cropped the heck out of it. We took the recommended seeding ratios and blew them out the window. And it was covered cropped with a really diverse blend. There was cowpeas, sun hemp, mustard greens, oats, vetch, hairy vetch, and honestly, I'm sure there was a couple other things in there. Um, but yeah, so in this video, before the plants on the borders were planted, the main focus was getting the seeds in. And so, that was to get something growing before the grass reestablished. And it's not really about eliminating the grass, it's about improving the soil. But the grass, if allowed to come back like it is surrounding this area, it would outcompete all of our cover crop seeds. So we had to till first to get that grass out. Also, because this is all pasture land, it's heavily compacted because Florida has some crazy grazing regimens and they just kind of destroy land. So we tilled it up to loosen the soil a little bit, but in the long term, the cover crops and the perennial plants that are going into the system are really what's going to loosen and rebuild that soil structure. But yeah, the cover crops are what's all over this soil. Probably 150 pounds of seeds.
So you have seeds sowed directly into this soil that we're looking at here?
Yep,
Okay.
everywhere, and not even sowed, just broadcasted. So
Right.
we were
Okay.
going around with seed spreaders, and some of them just chucking them out by hand, and just covering everything. We did a lighter seeding in throughout the plants we planted as well. But a majority of the seeds went into the bare soil area in the middle.
Do you remember roughly the size of this area?
It's a half acre.
Okay, that
Yeah.
you've modified here.
Yeah, the whole tilled area, it was a half acre.
How do you lay that out as far
We
as like know your four corners of we're not going past these points?
um well, we set up markers.
Okay.
So if in this video, if you look at these guys in the corner, the guy on the left in the black shirt, there's a little stick in the ground,
Yep.
and we just had markers and flags in the corners, and we even
Okay.
had guidelines running in
Okay.
between them.
Because I used to
So
work, I used to work on a survey crew, and that's one thing we did was we'd lay out property bounds, or we'd lay out where we're going to build a building or put a road in. And so I wasn't sure if this like homeowner went to the extent of, um, bringing in a survey crew to lay out, the corners or the lines of, where you're
no,
coloring in.
they just trusted us, and I mean, I'll
Okay.
say that I mean, it's certainly not perfect, but really, what we tried to do, so for the whole shape of the eventual food forest, we want it kind of specific. Some plants specifically lined up, on the southern facing side, and this design, the borders of it are square, but the interiors of it are very circular. Um, and so the opening on one area had to be facing the south. And then that kind of determined where the whole design was going to go, and how it was going to be oriented. So, I mean, yeah, we do better than eyeballing, but we certainly don't shoot for uh, you know measuring tape perfection.
Sure. Which is fine. I mean, even though
No one will even know it's a
Fibonacci
square in
is
10 years.
found in nature, yeah, nobody, only the government divides land by squares. So,
The goal is, yeah, honestly, doing it in a square was really weird to me because I'm like, we're trying to build a forest here, and the
yeah,
shape we're
yeah,
starting with is a
yeah,
square or a rectangle. I'm like,
yeah.
what? I mean, we could have done this whole thing in a circle, like,
I mean,
but you know,
a garden bed's going to be a square rectangle on a smaller scale. And so that's why I
yep.
was curious. It's such a large scale. I mean, you could see these three guys, the area that these three guys are working in is minuscule compared to the size of this whole half acre. So,
Oh yeah, we were out here for about a week. We
okay.
stayed on the property, just camped out there.
Okay,
Beautiful
cool.
place.
I was
But
actually up
yeah,
in Brooksville recently. That's out by Ocala, right?
it's a bit west, but yeah, it's like that same
Oh,
northern
Brooksville.
latitude,
What am I thinking of?
like Spring Hill area.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking of Brooksville. I'm thinking
But
of something
watch out for
else.
them books, man. They're flying at you.
Yeah, I, I wonder why I didn't read that one yet, but um, yeah. So I mean, I found this video interesting not only because yeah, see here we go. So this is
This is
now
after we
we've got some
planted
things installed
some money
here. So
shots.
do you know if this is the north side or the south side?
The so the flat side here, like right in front of us, is the
Mhm.
south side.
Okay. And so let me just back this up for a second.
So east is to our left,
So
and
this would be the
this is west.
west. Yep. And now we're coming to the south side. So as far as east and west, I know north and south, you're going to have different plantings, your larger trees, typically in the north, unless you want them to shade what's behind it, you plant them in the south. But are there similar strategies for east and west? Obviously, the sun goes from east to west.
Absolutely. All of your edges are going to be really important areas on the east side. You're going to get, like, if you had a dense stand of trees, the things on the east side of it are going to get all of the morning sun, and then on the west side are going to get all of the evening sun. The other thing, depending on where you are, the southwest and northwest sides can get a lot more wind than other areas. And really, that's the focus with what was planted here. This is the west side, and then the east side was also planted out. And these are our wind breaks. And so they're all planted out with mostly native species, actually. And then a couple of like hardy edible species. There's like some Cattleya guavas in here, and then some bamboo. And then all of these plants are intended to, you know, stop the wind that rips through this, the properties all around this are pasture. And so there's really not a lot of trees. We saw a little bit of tree line on the south side, but it's literally one straight row of trees along a fence, which doesn't really do much to break up wind. So you can see here, this windbreak is not a single row of plants. It's a staggered, multi-layered, planting. So when the wind hits it, it's not going. There won't be areas where it can pass through. It'll be pushed upwards over the system, and the how this system will be planted out in the future is working from the outsides in, with continuous cover cropping going on in the center. And I did just see an update on this. The guys at the Grow Food Company, they were out there, I think like last month,
Okay.
and it is always this with systems of this scale and working with homeowners, you're at the whims of the homeowner because it's a lot of work, and to hire somebody to do it, it's a large fee. um, and so I think that the cover crops were left a little longer than they should have, but the cover crops grew to full height. The entire area was dense with sun hemp. um, and I what happened was they all went to seed. And then when the guys got out there, they, still took all of that organic matter down, but it's really not, a problem. It just extends the timeline because now they have another round of cover crop seeds in that soil that are, popping up now also.
Sure.
So they went ahead and planted some of the interior of the east and west sides. Um, and then also, you know, in a situation like this, these plants aren't on irrigation. That's the other thing to know. This is all just dependent on nature, and they were planted in uh, August. So they were planted in the rainy season. They had plenty of water to get established. They did go through two hurricanes last year. So I think, definitely some of the plants were replaced during this year's planting. And then the cover crops were tended to. But really, it's hard to get people to work on nature's timescales, but that's what you want to do. You want to, ideally, you would let this windbreak grow for like 5 years before you started planting things you cared about in the middle of it, because it's not really going to have much effect until these things get larger.
Sure.
And what I would do is just thicken up the windbreak and then keep adding cover crops in the middle. Uh, but and I can say I would only do that if I had infinite time and money, because usually people don't have 10 or 15 years to wait for those productive crops to go in.
Sure.
So we supplement with different things. But this farm, you know, when it really when it's done and going, it's going to be just, I mean, the Garden of Eden is, this is what you would think of.
Yeah.
Um, and it'll take so much, management and effort to maintain it. Not not to keep it alive, but to keep it, in a cultivated state. You know, at a certain point, you can let the plants go and they're just going to live, but it'll become so dense with growth that, it would be difficult for people to get in and work with. So that management is necessary to keep it workable, while it's healthy and productive. And on a system this large, there's a lot of management that will be necessary.
I'm curious too, Sam. I don't know if this was your design, if you were part of the design, but it looks relatively flat. Was there any suggestions to the homeowner or ideas about berming up some areas to trap some water? Because it looks like, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is the low point of all the properties around it.
So there are going to be earthworks in the center in places. Um, and I'll say that this property is on a slope. It's on a
Okay.
very steep slope for Florida. Brooksville's kind of known for its hills. And this property is very iconic Brooksville farm. I'd say they're about halfway down the Florida mountain that they're on.
Okay.
So really some swales. There's there's a lot of things. I I did not make the design. The
Okay.
design was definitely, I know who did, and it was definitely done, to the best of uh that was the best that was reasonably possible. Um when you're working with, homeowners and, you know, real pricing and budgets, um compromises are made. So I think, the intention is that they're going to have small earthworks inside the productive areas. And you can almost kind of see how it's going to be laid out. The top of the slope is on the side that we're on now. And so you can see that this side kind of is very open in the front, whereas the back, the windbreak has already started to be planted. And the eventual design through the mini earthworks will kind of channel the water from this. Yeah, exactly. Channel the water from this entire open slope that we're on now and circulate it throughout the system, where the low point is this open area that's on the south side here. And
Okay.
so, you know, over time, as I think this will be planted out in many different phases, and most likely when those areas are planted, that's when those earthworks are going to be put in. Um, but it was it was noticed that on the property, they're having trouble with their water. Their water table is much lower than it used to be. There's creeks and ponds on the property that have uh, the water tables have gone down dramatically, so much so that some of the ponds no longer have water in them. And we spoke a lot with the homeowners about really capturing the water on their property. And the whole property was, I think, about 15 acres, and
Okay.
it's all sloped. And so, really, it this system can capture the water that's here in this little half-acre area. But what needs to be done is, property wide ponds and earthworks to capture and slow down and recharge the water tables in, I mean, on the mountain. Essentially, that's what's happening, is the water supply from the mountain is being depleted. And because they're higher in elevation than, most of Florida, they feel that effects of the aquifer, depleting faster. Um, so, there will be some water management things, but it's really going to have a small impact on the property as a whole. But it's hard to convince an individual to spend many ten thousands of dollars
Sure.
to dig some ditches on their hills, because you're
Yeah.
telling them that'll make their pond fill up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Now, if
Now,
I
do
was
you know if
Jeff
this
Lawton,
property is like for a future generation, I assume, or
I hope so.
okay.
I That was never made clear. It's people that want a farm, and it's a couple. They don't have kids yet,
Okay.
but you know, it seemed.
Because this is a multi-year thing. So this
Oh
isn't
yeah,
something that, a 50 or 60-year-old couple is going to get into, at least without, I would think, having a plan as to who's going to take this over, you know?
well, and see, now you're really getting into the dirt of like all these things. Like they definitely. I mean, most of the people who are putting these systems in, and I mean, not most, but a lot of the people who hire me and the people who are in my field are 50, 60, 70-year olds who want a garden for themselves. And what I've noticed is that I don't know if I have any clients whose goal it is to pass their garden that I've helped them create onto their children. And I mean, that's a shame. My goal is, my kids aren't going to have much of a choice but to take over my stuff because
Sure.
somebody's going to have to. Uh, but that that was a lot of the conversation on this project, like, and a system like this, a centropic system like this, uh, it's hard for people to wrap their mind around, how much production and management there's going to be in a half-acre production system. Just the harvesting alone, like if all you do was harvest, it'd probably be a full-time job.
Sure.
uh, and then there's the taking care of the plants, the managing the chop and drop species, because again, 75% of your plants are going to have to be chop and drop. And I mean, not the only way, but the only way to keep those chop and drop species manageable for us to work with is to stay on top of them. If you let them go for 2 or 3 years, it's going to be much more difficult to use them. And they will still serve their purpose, but on a much slower time scale. As they live and grow and die on their own naturally, they'll repair the soil and feed everything, but it'll be a mess for us to get in and get anything out of. Now, you know, I'm definitely a proponent of wild spaces. So if these people can't manage this and, you know, can't afford to hire somebody to manage it, and they get themselves over their heads in 10 or 15 years, what's going to happen to this is it's going to become a forest. Somebody could come in and spend a lot of money to cut down all this stuff, but that's the only way that it's going to go away at that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, I try to reason with people, but as as my job is, I will give people what they want to a certain extent, as long as it's the world is really what I'm interested in taking care of.
Yeah.
And this is going to benefit the planet so much.
Yeah.
Even if they can't control it, it's
Exactly.
going to be amazing.
Yeah. My backyard, I know I'm not going to be here forever. And I know there's fruit trees out there that I may never even enjoy because I might be gone before they start fruiting. But I am thinking about who's going to take over this place next. And I don't know that I would sell or rent this place to somebody that I know is not going to at least appreciate it. I can't stop what they do. If they buy it, it's their property. But,
Oh no, I hear
um,
you on that.
at least in the last 2, 3 years that it's been thriving, I know it's benefited the local ecosystems, whether it's been bugs, worms, squirrels. birds, my neighbors. Um, so if that's all I can contribute for the time being, then it's better than the Florida sugar sand that was out there. So
Absolutely. And I mean, that's really what it's all about. And it's, that's what we need to think about is training the next generation. I'm almost 30, and so I'm considered a young farmer, but I already feel the pains of manual labor. And so I'm ready to teach some like I mean, you know, when I have kids, once they're ready to start working on the farm, they'll be my right hand people, but it's really, you know, the people coming out of high school, they need things to do. They need to get off their phones, put them to work on the farm, get them out in the garden. Because, I mean, once you get past like society's preconceived notions of dirtiness and, bugs being creepy, people enjoy being outside a lot more than they like being inside. When you get people outside, they are just happier. When people are sitting inside in the dark all day, they become, you know, uh, cooped up and cranky. But then you get outside, and even if you're hot, even if you're complaining, you're still going to be laughing and moving around and having a good time. And so, you know, that's where we need to push people to with spaces like this. And, if people are creating these spaces with the resources that they've accumulated through their lives and these with the knowledge that these systems are going to outlive them, they need to really consider who's going to take over them, when they're not even when they die, but just when they're tired of working on it. Like you got to retire sometime. Like people, you don't need to work until you die. Train someone and then let them run it for you.
yeah. Well, dude, you did an awesome job on that video. It will be in the link below, so go check it out, and you can listen to the commentary from a year ago, and then you can. It's only a 2 minute video, so you might even want to start with that video and then come back to this one and get the updated commentary. But well done. I know we want more of those drone videos, Sam.
Absolutely. There'll be some more coming. I got to work on my commentary. The airports won't let me fly my drones around, and somebody stuck a GPS chip in it so they know where I am.
Mm,
If
well,
anybody can fix that for me, let me know.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm sure we've got some savvy people out there. So, well, dude, great episode again. Always enjoy talking about this stuff with you. Tell everyone where they can find more of Sam and Central Florida Abundance.
Absolutely. You can check out Central Florida Abundance on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to follow along with my regenerative gardening practices. We post videos and pictures of everything that we're up to out on projects and here on the farm. And if you're interested in some of the produce from the farm, you can check out igofarm.com to get one of our CSA boxes.
And you can also follow me at Mike's in the Garden on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. This is actually on Rumble as well. So you can head over to Peter Thiel's Rumble. You can head over to the powers that be at Google's YouTube or Meta's Facebook and Instagram. Um, that's about it. If you want to support the show, you can grab some gear like this one here, Guerrilla Gardening, and we will have some stickers and some more, I guess, merch available soon. Our focus is really to get these episodes out and focus on the content, so that other stuff will come later. And um, we appreciate you tuning in. You can head over here right now and get some sweet gear for yourself.